Hello and welcome back to another video. This is going to be part number one of a series of videos on restoring this Bally wizard. It's been a little while since I put any videos up. I've done a few games since then, but not really videoed anything. This one I picked up last weekend. Not done anything to it yet. Just give the cabinet a bit of a clean, but that was about it. So this will be a starting from scratch. Well, it's going to be, I say restoration. There'll be a sympathetic restoration, similar to what I did with a Bally Fireball I picked up a year or two ago. I won't be going completely mad on this. I quite like that it's an old game and some of it will show its age. So we'll kind of decide as we go through looking at the game how much to do. It'll definitely need cleaning and there's some parts need replacing. But we'll have a look at the game as it sits right now and I can sort of explain that it's working and what bits I've already sort of spotted. So if we have a look down, now the first thing to note I suppose is the back glass. Wizard's got some awesome art and the back glass on this game is pretty much perfect. There's one little nick, I'm not sure if it'll show up to be honest with you, right up in that corner. But other than that, the back glass is in beautiful condition. That's one of the main reasons, one of the big sort of plus points on this game. Back glass is great, and the plastics are all good as well, which we'll see in a minute. And before we look at the playfield, though, if I just we'll have a quick look at the cabinet. You can see, I'm not sure how well it'll come out in the video, but it's in pretty decent shape. It sort of, you know, for a game that's what 40 plus years old, I'm pretty pleased with the sort of the condition of the cabinet. This side's better than the other side. There's a bit more fade in the reds on the other side, but I'm not planning on doing anything in terms of restoring the cabinet. It's good enough, and I'd rather leave it original. You know, with this game being what it is, I'm trying to leave it as original as possible. So we'll be concentrating pretty much all of the work on the playfield. So if we have a look at the playfield, as you can see, it's a really pretty looking game. Now, it's very dirty, but it's like a sort of ingrained dirt. I'm not, again, how well it'll come out. Let's see if I can find an area. You can sort of see there, near the post, if I put my finger in, so near the post is sort of a lot cleaner with less ball trails than this sort of darker area in the same yellow. That's where all the ball trails over the many years. You can also see, highlight there, a bit of wear on the playfield. There is a bit of wear on some parts of the playfield. That's probably the biggest patch. And we've got a bit around some of the inserts as well. The main centre, like the W area, is pretty nice. There's a bit of wear you can see on the 5000 in there, and around, as per usual on these old games, around the pop bumpers as well. My Fireball's got exactly the same sort of wear, but all in all, it's in really good shape, and it's fully playable as well. So the game plays. I won't show that now. We will save that for the last video when it's been done up. But the game's fully working. There might be the odd switch adjustment, so if I look up here, there's these two rollover switches. This one seems to work fine. This one's a bit sticky, so again, hopefully it's just a switch adjustment. The flags, which is one of the main things on this game, the person I bought it off, they weren't resetting properly, but they've sorted that out. Likewise with the spinner, they also sorted that out. I think it needs a little bit more work. Sometimes it gets stuck in a weird position and causes the game to buzz, so I think that's a case of polishing it up. Like I said earlier, the plastics are really good. No damaged plastics, apart from, if you can see that little crack there, that is the only damage to any of the plastics. Now the pop bumpers, I think I'm going to get replacement pop bumper caps. They've really faded, and obviously the usual, we'll replace all of these as per usual when doing a game. But it's looking really good. Like I say, the first thing it's going to do is just strip the top side of the playfield down. One thing in terms of sort of mechanically not working that I have noticed is the chime box seems quite quiet. And when we had a look at it the other day, it's got like a modern replacement chime box. The middle chime solenoid is jammed. I don't know why. I've not took it out of the game, but it's kind of gummed up. And also the wiring, whoever fitted it, whoever wired it in, has done a pretty crap job, to be honest. So that'll need taking it down, stripping down, cleaning up, and then refitting. But the next steps on this will be to start stripping the top side of the playfield down and get the chime box out, and we can have a look at that separately. You'll notice, well maybe you won't notice, I'm a bit tight for space at the moment, so this is in sort of a weird spot in my kitchen. If I pan around, you can see other games. So Space Station from a previous video, and Banzai Run's been here for a while. This is a South Park, sat here. that I picked up not that long ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've done it up. I didn't video it. Done it up, and it's actually wrapped up, ready to go to its new owner, because this one's been sold. So when this goes, then we'll move Wizard into its space. But for now, it's a little bit tight in the kitchen in terms of space. We've got a lot of pinball machines to fight our way around. So I think the next thing, I'm going to start stripping the playfield down, as is my usual way, and we'll come back when something's changed and I can show you some other stuff. So as I mentioned, this is an electromechanical game, so I thought I've just opened the game up, so I thought for people who've not kind of seen these kind of games before, what's inside one of these. So you can see, if you're familiar with sort of pinball machines and their mechanisms, you can see sort of common things like the flipper mechs. Okay, they look a bit different to the modern games, but you know, it's obviously a flipper mech, and we've got pop bumpers, again, kind of normal. But then you've got things like this. This is a set of relays, and they all control different things. So obviously with an electromechanical game, there's no circuit boards, there's no electronics to sort of make the game work. It's all relays and motors and switches. So you can see on some of the original cards here, this relay here is something to do with bonus advance, and we've got one here, so that's to do with reset, I assume resetting the flip flags, which we saw earlier. And there's loads of these all throughout the game. So again, if you look down the side here, another sort of big bank. It's a bit dark in here with this. Hang on, let me just get this work right, see if that makes it a bit better. Another big bank of relays down there. But then you go back and you can see, you know, pop bumpers, again, standard stuff. This is a stepper unit. I'm not actually sure. Oh, there we go. It says on it. That's quite useful. So that's for bonus counting up. That's the stepper unit for the bonus countdown. This game has actually got a really kind of cool bonus countdown. So at the end of each ball, when it gives it sort of counts it back to you with chimes from the chime box. It's really kind of cool. And then if we look in the bottom, I'll have to use the work light probably to sort of show some of this. You can see in here the baseboard that you get in a lot of EMs, and there's all sorts of stuff in here. So if we look at that there is the sort of score motor, the main motor that keeps, and it's basically a load of wheels with cams on that spin around throughout the game and activate these big switch stacks. You've also got more, let me move the light a bit, more stepper units there for controlling different things. And then down this side, a whole row all the way to the back of the game of relays with switches. And then here is the chime box that I was talking about. So this needs a bit of work. We're going to take it out of the game to work on it. I don't know, again, it's pretty dark down in the bottom of this game, but if I show, let me see if I can show it. So in there, that's the whoever fitted the chime unit, their wiring job. I'm assuming they didn't have any Jones plugs, so they just kind of jammed the wires in there. We'll be redoing that, and then in here you can see that middle coil is the one that's sort of jammed up and sticking, so isn't actually hitting the chime. But we'll take this entire unit out, give it the once over, make sure it's fully working. I do like the chimes to be nice and loud. And then rather bizarrely, again when it was fitted, someone wedged some cardboard in there. I have no idea why you would do that, unless it was something to do with maybe they wanted it to be quieter, maybe deadening the sound, I guess, but I don't understand that at all. Again, it'll all be coming out. So that's kind of the guts of the game. Like I said, I'm not, now this game has been sort of with us for over 40 years and it fully works. So I'm not going to start going in here and messing with all of this. I will obviously, if I find things that aren't working, we'll adjust them and make them right. But what I'm not going to do is go through and strip all this down, especially things like this, and clean it all up. The game has survived perfectly well all its life without a muppet like me going in and messing around with it. So we will leave it be unless there's something that actually needs fixing. In general with the EM games, in my experience anyway, as long as they're all there, they will kind of keep, you know, the only time they stop working is when they haven't been played for a while. And that's because you get oxidation on the switches. When they're actually played a lot, they kind of keep themselves going. The more they get played, the more reliable they are, is the general rule, because the way the switches work, they have like a self-cleaning action called wiping, where the two switch contacts wipe across each other and keep any oxidation off them. So yeah, we'll start stripping the top side of the playfield. You won't probably see much more of this. I think I'm going to rebuild the flippers obviously, but other than that, most of this will be left alone. It works. I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to break anything. So other than switch adjustments, that will be it. So we'll come back when I've started taking things to pieces. So I've taken the chime unit out of the game, and you can see here the absolutely shocking wiring that someone had done to fit this into the game. I've also got the bits of cardboard out as well. In taking it out, I couldn't see any other reason other than they were trying to sort of dampen it against the side of the cabinet a bit. That'll go in the bin. That'll get chucked as well, or maybe I'll reuse it, I don't know. So looking at the chime unit as a thing, so the first thing I wanted to check was that the sort of plates on the top they should be kind of loose and on these rubbers, I think, so that you get a good chime noise out of them. And they seem fine. They seem really. There's a bit like something's been spilt on that one. Need to clean that up. I'm gonna completely take this thing to bits anyway, just to give it a nice clean and just make sure. But these top chime bits, they're nice and loose, so they should be okay. The bit you can see that's obviously wrong, if I spin it over, so you can see there's 3 coils, one for each of the chimes. And what it does is, I can't really activate my finger, it fires this up to hit the chime. And you can see on the first one, in normal sort of under gravity, you can see the metal bit at the bottom there. And on the third one, you can see the metal bit at the bottom there. On the middle one, there's a gap, and that's because the metal bit is kind of wedged inside there somewhere. So I need to figure out why that is. I'm hoping it's just a sort of misalignment. I'll take it all to bits. It'll loosen off. When I put it back together, it'll be fine. Either that or it's got something that's gummed it up. But we'll take it to pieces. I mean, the coil looks okay, so we'll take it to bits and see what we've got. So hopefully this should be a pretty easy fix. I've also, whilst I was messing around with this, I put the game on with the glass off, and well, in fact, let's go over and have a look. And just went through testing each of the switches. Now, there's quite a few lamps out. That's fine. I'm going to replace them all anyway. It's part of doing it up. But I want to check that the switches were working. Now, even though I said earlier this switch, I'm not sure if you can see it, that switch looks a bit rough. It works absolutely fine. So it probably needs a little bit of adjustment just to bring the sort of star piece up a bit more. But it works, that's not a problem. And actually, every single switch on the game is fully working. I will clean the contacts, obviously, just to make them a bit more responsive. However, except for one, which is this switch in the left orbit here. That one doesn't seem to do anything. Now, I'm not actually sure whether it should score points all the time or it's only in certain circumstances. I think it may have something to do with collecting the extra ball. So there's a light just in front of it that says extra ball when lit. Maybe you have to go up the lane and that switch collects the extra ball. I'm not really sure. So if anybody knows anything about that, then let me know. I would have thought it would have scored some point value. Every other switch seems to do just 10 points, but it seems to do nothing. I had a quick look underneath, and it's making contact, so maybe it's just dirty, or maybe there's something else that needs looking at. We'll have to investigate further. But to be honest, for a 43-year-old game, one switch, I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm going to crack on with taking the chime unit to bits, and we'll come back and have a look at that. So I've got the chime unit fully disassembled. We'll just have a quick look at what is involved in one of these, because I've never taken one of these to bits before. They're the 3 chime bars, obviously of differing lengths, to produce 3 different tones. They're just, I think, aluminium, and they've got these little rubber grommets in to sort of protect them when they're sat, so that they chime nicely. This is just the bits of the main sort of body that holds everything. You've got the 3 coils, and then these are the little plungers that sort of go up and hit the coils, and then just a load of screws and nuts and bits to nick in pieces. Now, so the sticky one is the middle one. I've tried all 3 bars. Let me get a camera. All 3 bars, dropping them through each one, and the other 2 are fine. There's obviously something, you can't see anything obviously wrong. Obviously you won't be able to see it through the camera. It looks okay, there's nothing obviously wrong with that, but it's jamming. When it gets sort of towards about this end, it's catching on the inside. And it's not a problem with the bar, because the bar from the middle one goes through the other 2 absolutely fine. So it must be something to do with this tube. I'm going to give it all clean, and then what I might do is get either some sandpaper on a little bit of a rod and maybe just run it through, or I've got a round file that might do the same thing. But like I say, because there's nothing obvious in there, we'll just give it a bit of a file out, and then hopefully that, along with giving this a bit of a sand and a polish up so it's nice and smooth, will make it work again. But I have a horrible feeling this is going to be one of these that's going to take a load of like tinkering with to get it to work right. So I'll come back when everything's clean and filed up, and we'll see if I've managed to get it to work. As suspected, this is putting up a fight. So I initially started out, thought a bit of sandpaper, that'll be fine. Then I switched to a sort of small half circle file. But now I've gone for a much higher grit sandpaper wrapped around a paintbrush of all things. And I'm just, you can see all the dust coming out. And I'm just attacking the inside of this this sleeve. It's going to take a fair bit of work. I'm not even sure how this chime box could ever have worked, like from it being bought. I mean, it's obviously a repro chime box, a new one, but the way the metal striker slides up and down inside the tube, this doesn't look like something that's happened to it since it's been put in the game. I'm wondering if this has just never worked, and the person that's owned it before never really noticed, because you were getting 2 of the 3 chimes, so perhaps they just thought that was okay. So I'm going to carry on with the paintbrush and the sandpaper until I can get this middle one working. So good news is the chime box is all back together and fully working. It took a fair bit of sanding out that middle one, and for good measure I also just cleaned up the other 2 as well, just to make everything nice. I also polished up the sort of metal strikers, so you can see now, as before that middle one wasn't just letting like sort of down due to gravity, it's there now. All 3 of them move up and down really easily within the coils. So this thing, and obviously I've put it back together, this thing is ready to go back in the game. One thing I wasn't sure about is how much adjustment there is in the noise. So I think anyway, I'm not sure, I've never worked on one of these before, that by adjusting these nuts up and down, the tighter, you can kind of affect how much chime you get out of it maybe. So I've got them quite loose at the moment, so if I just hit them, you can... Now, whether that's going to be good enough when it's in the game or not, I don't know. What I'll probably do is refit it, power the game up, and then adjust with it actually being struck by the proper things, rather than me just hitting it with a file. So I'm going to get this back in the game, and we'll see if it works. The chime box has now been refitted back into the cabinet. Went in pretty easily. Obviously I've removed the cardboard sound deadening that was in there before. I've just done a quick test. I'm not going to show it on this video, because I think we'll save that to the end when the game's all done. Seems to work fine, all 3. So I guess the first thing was I wired it up correctly. I found the schematic online and managed to wire the correct coils to the right plugs in the bottom of the cabinet. Like I say, I've done a quick test, and the 10 point, 100 point, 1000 point, it chimes the right chime bars with the right switches on the playfield. So pretty pleased with that. Sounds a little bit better as well. It's louder, definitely. Taking that deadening out and just kind of cleaning it up, it seems to me anyway to be a bit louder. But the most important thing is all 3 chimes are now working, rather than that middle one missing. So I think that's going to be it for this first video. The chime box is now done. Like I said at the start, I'm not really planning on, well, you can't even see inside it, so don't remove this torch. I'm not really planning on doing a great deal with the inside of the cabinet. It all kind of works, so I don't want to mess with it. In the next video, I will start stripping down the top side of the playfield, so we can start cleaning things up and seeing what we're working with. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.